Howdy! In this Terraria Master Mode playthrough episode, I make a lot of progress in a lot of ways. From making a large improvement in my gear to crafting one of the rarest items in the game. There's also some close calls as I face off against more of the pre-hard mode bosses. I start off by exchanging my desert points for the sandstorm in a bottle. It's a very good item for now. I then head over to the recently landed meteor to gather the ore. When I get back home, I craft the NPC prison maker and start to build some houses for the NPCs to move into. Immediately after making some houses, I find the tavern keep laying right next to spawn. My next plan for this world required going to the underworld, so I came up with a plan to craft the Instavator, a modded item that allows you to create a direct tunnel to the underworld in a single throw. However, I didn't have the supplies on hand to craft the Instavator, so I created a genius plan to gather each one. Basically, the plan was to use the infinite rope and infinite torches to just place them down and break them immediately to gather up the materials. Then I simply just bought the dynamite I needed in order to craft the Instavator. I went over to where I wanted the tunnel, and in only a brief moment I had a tunnel leading all the way to the bottom of the world. The architect and the brewer moved in as I was exploring the caves connected to the tunnel. I even found the Goblin Tinkerer while exploring in the caves, where I purchased the rocket boots and the Tinkerer's workshop, as I would need these items very soon. Back at home, I was placing down the crafting stations next to each other when the Jeweler NPC moved in. I used the Tinkerer's workshop to craft the Spectre boots, when right after the Operator NPC moved in too. When I went back down into the caves, I kept having NPCs move in, like the Tinkerer, Brain of Cthulhu NPC, and Eye of Cthulhu NPC. I also find some important items like the Cloud in the Bottle, and an item that I've been looking for this whole time, the Magic Mirror. I also find the Shoe Spikes, which I can use later to combine into better accessories. I finally made it to the underworld, where I waste no time in gathering up some Hellstone to use for upgrading my gear. Another item I've been looking for, the Obsidian Rose, drops from one of the first enemies I kill.
What?
The Obsidian Rose has only a 2% chance of dropping, so I got insanely lucky getting it on my first kill. I then kept mining Hellstone while I was in the underworld. I TP'd back home to craft the Obsidian Skull accessory, then I immediately combined it with the water walking boots at the Tinkerer's workshop. My next goal was to find the Lava Charm in order to combine the Obsidian water walking boots with the Obsidian Rose. I then bought an Obsidian Skin Potion from the Brewer NPC as preparation for my trip to gather all the Hellstone I need. The Deviant and the Abomination NPC move in while I'm on the way. Now ready to start mining up the Hellstone, I drink my Obsidian Skin Potion and begin mining. Early on, the Mutant NPC moves in. And not long after that, the Squirrel NPC also moves in. For some reason, I decide to kill this voodoo demon, which ends up backfiring, just watch what happens. After accidentally summoning the Wall of Flesh, I know I am not at all prepared to fight him, so I simply just magic mirror home, killing me immediately. Now that I was back on the surface, I crafted all the Hellstone bars that I could. With the enormous amount of Hellstone that I had, I crafted the full Molten set, which is a great upgrade to my current gear. I also craft the Molten Clicker for fun, and then I craft the Molten Pickaxe and the Volcano Sword, as both are great upgrades that I'll be able to use in just a little bit. I also craft the Imp Staff just for a little bit of extra DPS. I then buy the Climbing Claws and combine it with the Shoe Spikes to make the Tiger Climbing gear. I then find the Pharaoh Claws in the jungle, which is a pretty good find. But most importantly, I find the Lava Charm. I was super happy to find this, as I almost never do in my playthroughs. I couldn't wait any longer, so I went home to combine my accessories into the Lightning Boots and the Lava Waders. Unfortunately, I couldn't do all the combining I wanted to do because I forgot about the Ice Skates, an item that only appears in underground ice chests. And so I immediately went to the ice biome in order to find the Ice Skates. Eventually, I find my first ice chest where I find only an Ice Blade. Chest number 2, I don't find anything better. I then find a huge cluster of ice and listen to how satisfying this sounds. Ice chest number 3, and I find just another ice blade. Number 4, and I find only a clicker class mod item. Ice chests 5 and 6 were right next to each other, but unfortunately both were kinda garbage. Ice chest number 7 was no different, it was also pretty garbage. With no luck from chests, I just farm up the points from the points shop in order to just buy the ice skates straight up. And so I TP home to do so, and now I have everything I need to craft one of the rarest items in the game, the Terraspark boots. This is actually my first time getting the Terraspark boots, so I was pretty excited that I was finally able to craft them. As the Terraspark boots are one of the permanent accessories of the series, I reforge it into menacing for a good bonus stat. With my new gear, I decided to go to the jungle and find the beehive to take on my next boss. As I'm excavating the area around the beehive, the party girl actually ends up moving into the town. As my imp is shooting at the bees emerging from the beehive, a stray shot actually ends up summoning the queen bee, which actually ends up getting me killed. Despite this setback, I head back to the beehive and continue preparing for the fight. After I finish the arena, I craft the Abomination boss summon, and then summon the queen bee. Now that the fight against the queen bee was over, I decided to start farming the queen bee for some extra loot. Something funny does happen though, as we end up killing each other at the same time during one of the fights. Back at home, the witch doctor ends up moving in after I just beat the queen bee. And as I'm adding the queen bee relic to the stack, the queen bee NPC moves in too. That night, I went over to the dungeon to prepare a boss fight arena for Skeletron. Once the arena was finished, I talked to the old man to summon Skeletron. The fight starts off really rocky, however I keep going, as there's still hope to beat him. I was able to take out both hands and deal a decent amount of damage to the skull, but unfortunately, it wasn't enough to beat him. The last thing I decided to do was reforge my gear into some good modifiers. I was looking for menacing or warding for the most out of defense and attack. I also decided to craft my shark tooth necklace into the stinger necklace for a little bit more use out of it. If you made it this far into the video, then I just want to give you a big thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then I would greatly appreciate if you were to give a like and even subscribe to my channel. If you have any tips on how to improve my content, I would really enjoy hearing it, as I'm still learning how to edit and still learning how this whole thing works. Any tips on improvement would be very greatly appreciated. Other than that, thanks for watching.